welcome back to my channel. It is Amanda. How are you today? Today it is time for my monthly palette preview and review. This is where I talk about the palettes that I used the previous month and then show you the palettes that I'm going to be using for the upcoming month. In 2021, I have been choosing 10 or 11 palettes each month to rotate through my palette collection. In doing such, I have actually decluttered quite a few palettes, and that's awesome. So I kind of had themes at first, and now I'm just trying to get through all of my palettes, so I'm just randomly generating the palettes. So if you guys want to hear about the palettes that I used last month and then the palettes that I'm going to be using in November, just keep watching. Alright, so we have the Nabla Secret palette. This is a beautiful palette. Let me open it. It's a very nice jewelry palette. I actually use a lot of the neutrals and golds in this palette because I don't wear a lot of gold and I don't really like a lot of neutrals. I don't know if you've noticed, but I like a colorful eyeshadow, so I wanted to not gravitate towards the colorful shadows that I usually would use and then kind of hit up some of the neutrals that I would normally ignore. Anyways, that was my plan for this palette. This is a lovely palette. I don't think that the shimmer shades are anything that's like, oh my gosh, that's the most shimmery shadow I've ever seen in my life. But they are beautiful. I think that it's a lovely palette. I'm going to keep it. I think it's kind of like an understated shimmer. It's definitely not anything that you look at and think, holy crap, that is the shimmeriest shimmer I've ever shimmered in my shimmer life. You don't think that, but you think, oh wow, that's really pretty. Next is the Milani Soft and Sultry palette. I have spoken so many times about how much I love this formula from Milani. There's nothing wrong with this. I do still think this is a great formula from Milani, but I just wasn't wanting to reach for these shades a lot this month. I don't know if it's because they're so neutral that I wasn't going to appreciate them because they're so neutral. I mean, this top row is, the top two rows, they're barely their colors. I'm not a barely there type of eyeshadow person, so I'm actually going to pass this on. I might say my mom might like this because she typically likes mauves and purples and stuff, but she also likes, you know, more neutral stuff. I'm going to see if she will use this because the quality is still great. It's still a great eyeshadow palette. I just realized that the colors were not necessarily what I was craving in my life. Next we have the ColourPop Honey palette. This is so beautiful. I love yellow eyeshadow. I used this a few times this month on its own and in combination with other palettes, and I just love yellow eyeshadow. I just think that it's so pretty. There is a pressed glitter in the middle. I didn't use that, and I love that it's not just yellows. I mean, there's definitely some tannish. Like these two are definitely good blending colors, especially this, what's it called, Buzzkill shade. So it's not just, I mean, it's mainly yellow, but there are other shades you can, you know, blend colors out with, and we love that one. Next is the Nabla Side by Side palette, and this is just a neutral palette, but it's a beautiful neutral palette. These are a little more rich in color. There's a little more depth to some of these colors versus like barely there colors. I'm not a barely there color type of person. Nabla's formula is very nice. These shades right here, all four of these, are sort of like, I don't really know how to describe these. They're very, very finely milled so that they look very smooth when you wear them. They don't look like a shimmer that has like texture. They're very smooth. Really, really beautiful palette. I really like this one. I honestly think that I like this one more than the Secret palette, which is shocking because this is a neutral palette. Who am I? Alright, next we have the Cloud Spun palette from ColourPop, and I didn't use this. I wore this a few times, but this is a very pastel pink. I wasn't super feeling the pastels, you know, in October. This was a randomly generated palette. I think that the formulas were nice on the things that I did use. And there is one pressed glitter in here, but the rest are mattes or shimmers. I think it's lovely, but you know, not like my favorite October palette. And then we also have Lovebird. This is one that I sort of regret purchasing just because it has 3 pressed glitters in the middle. I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking. This dark shade right here is actually one of my favorites. I don't know. I'm going to keep this one for now, but I can see me possibly decluttering this in the future. There's a Super Shock shade in here as well, this peacocky shade. You know, there's nothing wrong with it, it just isn't my absolute favorite. If I were going to take advantage of the glitters in here, I think that would really help like amp up this palette. Next we have the Smoke Show palette, or I think it's called Blow and Smoke now. This is their black, gray, silver palette. This palette is so beautiful. This Starstruck shade here in the middle, oh my, it is like liquid metal. It is so beautiful. The most metallic powder shadow that I can think of. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is lovely. Next we have the Rendezvous palette. I think this was an Ulta palette, Ulta exclusive. It's really lovely. I used this quite a lot last month. I think I used this in combination with other palettes the most. It's a very fall, jewel toned, cozy vibe. I'm sorry that you can't get this anymore, but so ColourPop does us. Then we have the Cherry Crush palette. I used this twice. I only used this twice last month. There's a row of pinks, reds, and purples. I just didn't get the time to mix and match and play with this as much as I would like. I honestly feel like I didn't wear makeup as much as I would have liked last month because October went by so fast. I know we say this every month, but I don't even remember what happened in October because it just went by so fast. So I didn't wear as much nail polish as I wanted. I didn't wear as much makeup as I wanted. And I was reaching for very like familiar things. And I wasn't really trying to try a ton of new things or new color combinations or anything. I was just using a lot of very familiar things that I knew I could do quickly. So that's my fault, but what do you have? Alright, next we have the At Forest Sight palette from Raw Beauty Kristi and ColourPop. This is such a beautiful palette. Such a beautiful palette. This Let It Rain shade is black with a copper copper shimmer in it. And in the pan, it's so sparkly and it's reflective. And you can't see it at all when you wear it. I need to try putting this over a very dark, I don't think I have a black like shadow stick, but I need to try over that because I would love that copper shimmer to shine through. But otherwise, I mean, I still love the palette. It's beautiful. The shades are so pigmented. And then the palette that I reached for the most last month was the Lorac Pro Noir palette. This is like, I just said that I'm not, a neutral person. And this is very cool toned neutral. It's also very easy. And you can make a very pretty eye look with this very quickly. And that's what I was doing a lot in October. So this one got used the most and it's beautiful. And they just released like the fairy tale version and it's got greens in it. It's so pretty. If the lighting has changed, it is later in the day. Now we're going to talk about the palettes that I'm going to be using in November. And again, these were randomly generated. I have all of my palettes in it's not even a spreadsheet, it's just a numbered document so that I can do things like this with them, as there has been. There are a lot of ColourPop palettes because I have a lot of ColourPop palettes. So the first one is the Menage a Moi palette. This was their holiday palette last year. I love this palette. This is one of my favorite ColourPop palettes. This is very easy to use if you want to use one shade and then you're done, but you can also make very beautiful, rich, purpley, mauvey looks with this. I love this palette. It is one of my favorites. And the next one, I wrote Strawberry Shake, but I don't have Strawberry Shake. I have Main Squeeze. It looks like I've used this palette maybe once. It's a very red palette. I haven't used it a lot. It's fine. The next palette is this little baby from Catrice Cosmetics. This is their 5 in a box mini eyeshadow palette, and this is in the color Soft Rose look. There are 4 or 5 of these. I know that Catrice is fully leaving Ulta Beauty, but you can purchase from their website. This is a very nice palette. It's a very neutral palette. This is like, not something that I'm gonna create the most colorful looks with ever in the world, but it's a very nice formula. These 2 shimmery shades are very creamy and they're impactful enough. So this is a cute little guy. The next one is one from Rare Beauty. This is their holiday palette from last year. They had 2 last year and they have one this year, but this is the Confident Energy palette. I love this palette. One of my favorite makeup looks, and I just, you know, I don't love a lot of pictures of myself, but one of my favorite pictures of me is using this palette. Also, I love the color of my hair. I should probably get my hair done again, but I'm losing some. Anyway, I think this is a really nice palette. It's an all shimmer palette. I don't really mind that because I have so many eyeshadow palettes. It's not difficult to find a palette to use in conjunction with an all shimmer palette. I don't really mind that, and this is a beautiful color palette, I think. It's very fall. And then we also have the other palette from last year, the Magnetic Spirit. This is the purple pink version with a pop of orange. I liked this one. I definitely liked the other one more, but I also haven't used this one as much as I used the other palette, so I'm gonna put it to use. Next we have the Glam Dirty Martini palette. This is new to my collection, and this is my first experience with Glam, but so far so good. This is what I'm wearing today actually, and this is beautiful. I mean, next we have a classic ColourPop. This is the Sweet Talk palette. This is a really beautiful peachy ColourPop palette. It's fairly old at this point. There are two pressed glitters in here. There's a Super Shock shade in here, which is somehow still creamy. This is a really nice, easy to use ColourPop palette. Easy, like you don't have to think about it too much. Next we have the Lorac Pro Metal palette. This is an all metallic palette as well. This is actually a really great little palette. I finished this shade entirely, but the rest of the shades are really nice. They're not, you know, they're not metallic. They're nice shimmer shades. I think metallic is not the right description for these. I think they're very nice shimmery shades, but it's a nice companion shade. Next we have an oldie from ColourPop as well. This is the My Little Pony palette. This is a really cute palette. I like this palette. I love this color. I love this purple. I haven't used this palette in a very long time, so I'm excited to bust out some My Little Pony looks, or like Amanda looks using the My Little Pony palette. Next we have the Juvia's Place, the Rebel Army quad. They released, what, 4 of these, and of course, like I can't be responsible for how much green eyeshadow I own. I love it so much. I know that there are only 4 shades here, so there's not, you know, a ton that can be done with this, but that just means I have to wear more green eyeshadow. And then lastly we have the Glam Wine palette. This is brand new, haven't even swatched it, haven't touched anything about it yet, but I was glad when the random generator was like, yeah, pick that one. Because I was like, yes, I want to use some purple. I don't even want to touch it yet. I do though. This Nabla color. Oh. And then fruity. Oh. Very excited to play with this. Look at all the purples. Those are my palette selections for November. That is crazy. Let me know what you guys are wearing this month. I usually post my makeup reels on my Instagram, so I'll have that linked in the description box. If you have any, do you have any requests for any color combinations you would like to see, please let me know, because otherwise I'll just wear straight up green, straight up purple eyeshadow every single day and live my happy life. But I would love to see different color combinations, so if you have a suggestion, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you in my next video.